now going to give us an explanation and explore his experiences in actually doing that process. So I want to close that down.
Right, so yeah, the module was basically a web-based learning module, so it was a practically based assessment where we had to go on months-long work placement. Mine was at the RFU at Twickenham. We had to develop 6 learning outcomes to kind of make the most of our work-based learning. And then as you've just seen, we used the coaching process in face-to-face coaching, but then we also, I'll talk about a bit later how we used it on Facebook, how we continued it. Yeah, so the 3 roles there that you saw, I was playing the role of the coachee, who was the participant receiving the coaching on my learning outcomes. And then Will, who was on the right, was the coach, and he was offering guidance. He wasn't telling me how to change them, he was trying to kind of tease it out with me. And then the witness, who's Jay, if the video continued to work, he gives kind of feedback afterwards, so like external feedback, not from the coach's perspective, but as a kind of tutor, but as a student. And then like how we've developed it, through the face-to-face coaching sessions, like that my tutor Nick like taught us the techniques, we've kind of continued this over Facebook, because obviously I was based down in Twickenham, and then another one of my colleagues was in London, and another one was back up in Leeds, so it was kind of impossible to do this throughout our placement, to kind of meet up and talk about our learning outcomes and do this coaching process and continue it. So using Facebook, we created our own group who our tutor added himself into as well, so he could kind of keep track of everything that we're doing and have an input if he needed to. But I mean, it was predominantly taken by the students, and we continued throughout our work placement to continue the coaching for our learning outcomes, and like use of smartphone as well. Like we all have iPhones and Blackberries, so we could literally just like pick up our phone and put like some feedback on someone's learning outcome, or put like how our work placement's going, and kind of adapt our learning outcomes to that.
Can I clarify?
Yeah.
Your coach was a fellow student.
Yeah, a fellow student. Yeah, he was quite old, isn't he? So
So where are these forums?
they're on Facebook, so you can create a group. So it's kind of integrated in Facebook, which I think is kind of a good thing. Relating back to the talk we had earlier, I don't think it's really a good idea to have a specific educational forum, but integrating that into Facebook, because everyone's on Facebook anyway.
It doesn't bother anybody about the privacy setting.
No, because you can make them secret, so no one else saw what we were doing, and no one else even saw that we were in that group. So it's kind of like your own little section away from Facebook. So while you're on Facebook, you could just kind of click on and put a little bit of feedback. And obviously with a coach, it's got a short bit of feedback, especially from the coach's view. It's just kind of trying to tease the ideas out. So it's only like a short comment. It could even be as long as a tweet, so that could kind of have been incorporated as well. But yeah, future, like how we've developed in the future, we continue to use Facebook for coaching and other modules. So we've kind of taken off our own back, so we haven't got the tutor guidance in this, but we've kind of created our own Facebook groups and continue for like a recent module I did was a marketing module, and I was in a group of four other colleagues, and we created a group and we use it to organise group meetings and assist other group members with this coaching technique that we've done, and yeah, apply the coaching skills for other modules. Is it yours?
I think so. You have anything more to say?
No, if there are any questions, I can answer them. Maybe get any for the next one.
Were you coaching somebody else?
Yeah, so this triad model, we kind of took the part of each of the things. So we had 3 face-to-face coaching sessions, and one of each would take the part of the witness, the coachee, and the coach. So we'd have kind of all-round view of everything, and we could help each other. So like once I'd been the coachee, I understood what it was like to be the coachee, and when I was the coach, I could kind of use that knowledge to be a better coach. And obviously, if it was kind of continued through Facebook and whatever, it could.
Was that off your own bat?
Yeah,
the triads, or every student in a triad?
No, the triad system was like Nick tutor who was there at the face-to-face session
Yeah.
kind of told us what our parts were, and
Yeah.
that was literally the first time we'd ever seen coaching, so that's why it's a bit kind of sketchy, but since then it's got a lot better and we've kind of learned more about each role and got better at each role and helped each other more.
Thanks.
Anything else?
Did anybody not like it? If so, why not?
I think a few people didn't take as much interest in it as others, but I mean, through my experience, I can tell other students now that it's helped me, and I think because it's the first time it's ever been implemented, certainly in my course, I don't think everyone was kind of went in like fully, but since then, and since, I mean, like, you get out of it what you put in at the end of the day, especially with work placement, so the learning outcomes that I made were substantially better in my mind, and my tutor's mind, than others that didn't take on this kind of coaching thing, and then for other modules as well, for the marketing module that I've recently done. We've kind of, I know a lot of other students that weren't in our group that have kind of taken on this, like making a Facebook group and kind of helping each other through from each group member.
To add to that, I've just interviewed Nick, the tutor who implemented this, and one of the observations he made was, now the assessments have come in for you, was that actually some of the students had reflected back in their assessments that they hadn't taken as much interest, and that they wish they had done, because they'd seen the benefits from other students, particularly with once they've gone out into placement and realised maybe their learning outcomes didn't fit or sit as well as they hoped. So the evidence gathering process was difficult.
That's the whole Facebook thing. So if they didn't fit, obviously they hadn't set this up before and there wasn't a face-to-face interaction to learn how to play each role. They couldn't do that over Facebook and kind of develop their learning outcomes throughout the placement, which we could, because we kind of...
So it's a blended thing. It's
Yeah.
very much blended.
Yeah.
And was the choice of social media up to the students?
We didn't get... Nick told us to make a Facebook group for him to think, but as much kind of input as we wanted onto the Facebook group, he didn't push us to post anything in this Facebook group, but we just kind of took it off our own backs while we're on
But it had to be
Facebook.
Facebook rather than
I
another.
think he left that open, didn't he, to a number of different
Yeah, there was
people who use
Facebook
different
and
technologies.
I know one of the groups, one of my close friends did use BlackBerry Messenger, and they had the whole group on BBM, so they were just doing it over that whole coaching process.
Yes.
But it depends which group and what people use in their group, so obviously people use Twitter more.
Yeah.
It'd be more relevant for them to use Twitter as the kind of forum, but for our group it was Facebook.
Nick left that sort of question open to the students, and
Yeah.
some the whole part of the assessment was to provide some evidence of the coaching, and some students actually submitted evidence of that with pen and paper as well as through various means like this. But the technology seems to have enabled you, in particular, to take it beyond just that face-to-face communication, and during the made it a little easier during the placement time. So
How many students altogether have taken part now?
the group, I think, was about 200.
200.
I think
on my course.
the cohort's about 200, but I don't think Nick. There's 3 tutors taking this cohort, and they've all done it in slightly different ways. At the moment, we've just investigated Nick's processing, what he's doing. I've got the coming on to the next steps here. The current group that's going through at the moment, which is a Year 1 group in Semester 2, they've actually embedded more formal approach to the coaching in, so a lot more of the current literature, and had a little bit more formal aspect from that. He's just got the assessment process back from that to see how that has worked. You produced posters. Did you produce posters in your round? No. But this time we're working on producing a poster that's a digital poster with links out to where the evidence is for the coaching. And again, leaving that technology quite open as to how they use that. But the poster is something they then come in and bring in and is assessed as a presentation. He's also looking at the moment to develop cross-year coaching with interested parties. So Jonny here might be asked or willing to participate in coaching peers from first and second year. So in that way. We're also moving on to looking at embellishing that into student ambassadors, which Janet can say a little bit more about. Expanding it into other courses, so we're getting more interest now from other tutors to come along and join in these coaching sessions. We've expanded the coaching workshop sessions so that we can get more interaction, and we're looking at health, using it as a means to choosing specialities with their PDP, and I've had media approach me to do with embedding change management, because obviously they're in a big change industry and people find that difficult with PDP. And the final thing is we're looking to offer this as group coaching sessions across the university directly to students to try and enhance that peer sort of coaching between them. That's the future. So I didn't know if you want to say a little bit more about the student ambassador role.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through, she's going to turn that round on me. We're going through quite a lot of change, as a lot of institutions are, obviously, and we're looking to get people like Jonny to work across the university with us, because one of the things that is likely to happen is that the notion of PDP will be is going to be much more embedded within courses across the university, but also much more standardised in a sense across the university, because it's actually quite varying at the moment as to what happens. So given that this is really working well and with the students on the course that Nick's been working with, what we would like to do, and this is really where the students' agents of change comes in, is really that's where we're taking it. We're wanting to get Jonny and his colleagues on the course to share their experiences with staff and students across the university to try and embed that coaching within the new PDP model.
Will that then, I mean, once you teach them to do the coaching, then they can carry it on through the years, the next modules and the years ahead. So you'd have the materials as the first module really that they encounter it.
And yeah, I mean that to have
to do the coaching.
I think that's right. And what's been interesting with Jonny's cohort is how they've taken it on as something to use in other, quite independently of what they've been asked to do for assessment or anything else, taking it on because it's been helpful to use in other modules. And that's one of the benefits that we find when we coach people, is that they start to think in those terms. So they start to think in terms of, well, how can coaching help in this decision I've got to make, even if it's not sort of what we've been directed to. And self-coach as well. And I think there's a number of the students have mentioned, it's helped them to think about the way that they approach things, and they start to coach themselves, which is really, really interesting.
So would you consider making these materials available as open resources?
They will be. Yeah, in
Sounds
fact
really
we have
useful.
got, open
They'll be going up
already.
onto Circle? No, other one.
Design
Studio.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
already got a fair number of, because we ran a module last year for a different cohort of master's students, which focused around coaching, and we have a set of resources from that, which we will be adapting and putting out as open education resources through Design Studio and other repositories. So yes, that would be. And also what we're wanting to do as an output of the project, the PC3 project, because this is all, Dawn and I work on the PC3 project, which was part of the curriculum design programme, just curriculum design programme, and Nick has sort of got involved with the staff development that we've been doing through that project, and has applied it in his course. And what we're wanting to do is then effectively package up that process, so that other both tutors in our institution but also in other institutions would be able to take that and do the same sort of thing. So that's how we see it developing. Any other questions?
Well, just an observation really, that there's the recent work by David Nichol from Reed on his peer, who's looking very much at self-assessment, and he's talking about the way in which students are, creating their own goals and managing their progress against those goals, and that seems to be, for him and the research he's done around that seems to be something which that's the whole peer review process, I suppose, which he's talking about, which sort of in some ways is very similar to what strikes me as being quite similar to the way you're doing it, although it's a slightly different take, because he's coming from a very much kind of feedback and assessment place, whereas you're coming from part of your discipline, of course, is about coaching as well, because you're sports science, right?
About business.
But there's kind of interesting parallels there.
That's interesting. So that's recent. Is it a particular project, David?
Yeah, it's
and
just
it's-
it's just peer review. Well, do you know? I'm not sure if it's
Yeah,
just
the
got
exact
launching, or whether it's HEA or innovation or something like that. But it's called. It's sort of coming out of the REAP work that he did, but it's
right,
moving
okay,
into.
because I don't know about the REAP stuff.
It's called peer.
It's called peer.
And it's about peer review rather than peer assessment. So basically, he's taken away. He thinks that peer assessment is very